Cool, so Helen, we're down here at the final water.
Yes.
Always a good spectator spot. Everyone is here watching, hopefully cheering everyone through the water.
And all support crews will be standing just behind us because that's where the 10-minute box will be.
Yes, totally. Cheering their riders home.
Yes.
So 90s and 100s in over the boat?
Yeah, absolutely. So as we're looking at it, the right-hand boat, the slightly taller boat that's closer to the water is for the 100s, and the boat to the left that's further away from the water is for the 90s. And then they're coming through the water, and then on the exit route, the 100s will be jumping the left-hand side of this brush L, and the 90s will be jumping the right-hand side. It will look quite different.
Yes.
It will look quite different. Obviously, at the moment we're a good week out, and the guys have only just arrived with all the birch and the greenery and the decoration. So it'll transform when you see it at the actual event. It will look considerably different to that, but the idea, the concept of it is that obviously the 100s this side will have a left-hand brush shoulder, so it'll go really quite a lot higher up on the right, just pushing them off to the left, and vice versa. So for the 90s, it'll be high up to the left and then pushing them to the right to a smaller sort of jumpable width. And in terms of like actually tying them on and getting them to accept the angle, I'm going to have to play with some islands or some Christmas trees, so there'll be very much an inner line where they're accepting the angle, or they're going to have to go right the way round whatever I place there and waste some time but take the risk out and square up so they're jumping it more straight on. So it's going to look quite different.
Well, it's always fascinating seeing a course a week out, because some combinations you'll look at and the jump is the jump and that is the question. And then other types of questions like this, it is how they're dressed, how they're built up, that completely alters the difficulty of the question itself.
And it's amazing how much you can do with the dressing, with your flagging, you know, and actually the position of the flags, and that's something certainly at the higher levels, it makes a massive difference. You know, even just moving the flag 2 inches can optically absolutely transform a question. So to be honest, that's one of the bits I love.
Yes, totally.
When I start to be able to start going and playing with materials and props and, you know, where the flags are, that sort of,
But then you go from what is... Well, no, we all get very excited about cross-country, Helen. Looking at here, you know, it's a very solid height, small fence. So actually, safety-wise, is very nice. But actually soon, next week, it's going to look very imposing from the angle they're at and suddenly the height of the brush.
Absolutely. And I think something that is really, really important and interesting for people to understand is show jumping, you measure the height of the fence from the ground. So obviously with a tape measure, you just measure it out of the ground and that is the height of the fence. Cross country, that's not how we measure fences. We always measure fences from the point of takeoff, the point of takeoff for the average horse. So the minute you get onto a bit of downslope, if you're standing higher, the fence measures small. So that's why optically you can have something that looks really, really big and you think, but how on earth is that only a metre? Or how on earth is that only... Well, it is, because where you're standing on the point of takeoff is higher. So it affords the designer a little bit more height. And then we have this wonderful thing called brush, which we have 20 centimetres to play with. So although the fixed height is only, for example, for the 80s, 80 centimetres, we then have 20 centimetres of brush. So suddenly a metre looks quite a bit bigger and in your face. So again, you know, for the 100s, the fixed height can be a metre. This isn't. But then that would give us another 20 centimetres of brush. Here, it'll look a lot bigger because obviously the fixed height is very low, but I'll have quite a bit of height with the brush here. So it's going to look slightly different to that next week.
No, I'm so excited to see it in its infancy and then see what it looks like when it's fully bloomed.
Yes, exactly.
And the 80 is coming over the log, through the water.
And then they will be able to go round the back of whatever island I place here, and they'll be able to jump this right-hand brush straight on.
Or inside if they want to go. Or
inside if they're feeling particularly ambitious. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, very good. Just a nice little question at the end of the course to make sure they're still on it.
Exactly, and it's the second to last fence. The last fence will just be the brush that we can see in the distance, and they'll be home.
Yes, well, fingers crossed for another great ride through here. Happy horses, happy riders heading on to the finish.